In this video, we're going to show you to install ignition coil boots on your Ford Taurus located on your ignition coils. With the hood open, go ahead and locate your ground terminal on your battery. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to loosen this nut right here. Loosen that and pull it off and set it aside. Now that our ground terminal is disconnected, we're going to come over to the back side of the air filter box. You're going to reach down inside and pull these clips off. And we have this hose right here. Now there's a gray retaining clip here. It's almost like a locking clip. You need to push that in and then back and release it. You can hear it clicking. When you release that, pull out. Over here, we have another vacuum hose. Simply going to pull up on this, separate that, tuck that off to the side. And then we have the air intake tube hose clamp. You could use a flathead screwdriver to loosen that. You can also use an 8mm socket. Simply going to loosen that. You don't have to undo the entire hose clamp. I'm going to grab this whole unit and kind of give it a little wiggle. Wiggle it off of the throttle body. Now when we lift this up, we're going to take the air filter lid box and we're going to pull it to the passenger side. And the reason why we're doing that is we have to disengage the 3 tabs here from the holes in the air filter base. On the top right here, we want to disconnect this harness. So there's a little push tab right here. I'm going to pinch this little tab right here and pull this connector off. Just tuck that off to the side. Now next thing we want to disconnect is this unit here. Now there's going to be a little tab right here on the top and there's going to be one just below it. And what you need to do is pinch these two together and then push the connector or the green connector locking tab towards the passenger side. Now if you want to, you can use a pocket screwdriver just to go ahead and get in there and pull that. You're going to feel it release and it just kind of like pops over. And once that's over, go ahead and wiggle this unit and gently pull that off. Now if you follow this over, it goes into plastic retaining clips. Simply just work that up and off and do that all the way over. Now that we have that lower hose off, we want to transition right to the connector right here. Now there's a red lock safety tab right here. You can use a pocket screwdriver. I'm going to use this here. You can usually use your finger, but you're just going to lift that up to a certain point and it's going to stop. And then there's a tab right here you're going to push in on. Use your thumb and just kind of pinch and pull this off. Just like so. On the back passenger side of the intake, you're going to find the map sensor. You're going to lift up on this little tab and just gently slide that connector off. Now across the front side of our intake, we have a coolant tube here. You have 2 ways you can do this. You can use a trim tool and pop the plastic retainers out on the 2 sides here, but that's at risk of breaking the plastic. You can do this here. Use your pocket screwdriver, open up these little tabs, and simply roll the hose out. Do that on both sides. That way there you don't risk breaking the plastic. On the back side of our intake here, there's going to be another hose, vacuum hose here. Now there are 2 hose clamps. You can undo either one. What we need to do is basically remove the hose off of the intake. Now our hose clamp here is a little bit tight and we can't get a tool properly on that, so we're going to try and remove the back one here. Use a pair of pliers or whatever you have that's going to be able to go ahead and release these tabs. And then we'll go ahead and pull that out. Now if you chose to do what I did here, remove the metal clamp and pull it back, I'm going to slide that off and put that on my bench. That way it doesn't fall off behind the engine and lose it forever. Our next step is to go just underneath our throttle body here. There is going to be a 10mm bolt holding the intake to a bracket. We need to go ahead and use our 10mm socket and our 1/4" ratchet, loosen and remove that bolt. Now I am using a stubby 1/4" ratchet. You can use a longer one. You can use a standard size if you want, but the stubby 1/4" ratchet does get more throw on it, so you can spin it a little bit easier. Once that bolt gets pretty loose, go ahead and reach in there, or you're going to want to remove your socket and your ratchet and spin that out. This is one of those bolts, if you drop it, it's gone forever. There it is. On the back side here, I'm going to use a pair of pliers here to disconnect this. Now our clamp here is kind of twisted and we can't get to that clamp properly. So go ahead and grab this here. We're going to try and rotate this hose a little bit because we can't gain access to our clamp here. And once you can get access to it, I'm going to use some pliers. Let's open that up and we're going to slide that back. And then slide the hose off. Next thing we want to do is remove the 7 8mm bolts holding our intake to the lower intake. I'm going to go ahead and start over here on the left. These bolts are a capture setup here, so that means that the rubber grommets and everything, they kind of hold it in place here so those studs won't fall out. Let's go ahead and grab our intake, lift that up, and slide that up and out. Our next step is to clean and protect our lower intake. We're going to start with some spray solvent on a rag. And you want to wipe the intake here. Make sure that you're wiping any debris away from these ports. We want to keep any debris from falling down inside the engine the best possible way. Once you're satisfied that that lower intake is clean, you can go ahead and take some shop towels or rags, and we want to go ahead and cover or fill those ports a little bit. We want to keep anything from falling down inside, i.e. debris, sockets, anything fun like that that you might end up introducing another problem to that engine later. Now we want to go ahead and replace these components. You want to notice that on this particular engine, it is a V6. So that means you're going to have 6 of each of these components. On the front bank here, you're going to have 1, 2, 3. On the back side, you have 4, 5, 6. On the front side, you have immediate access to, you don't have to remove the intake to do this here. On the rear bank, you do. Now right here, you have the electrical harness coming to the coil itself. There's going to be a lock tab right here, this white unit. You want to go ahead and gently pull up on this. You can see that it has come up, and then you can go ahead and press down on it and pull that harness off. Right here is an 8mm bolt. I'm going to use my socket and my 1/4" ratchet. You can loosen that. Remove it and set that aside. Don't lose that. We're going to be reusing that later on. And we want to go ahead and grab the coil, give it a little twist, and pull up and remove that. Go ahead and take your ignition coil, and on the base here, you can simply grab this, twist it, and pull it off. If it doesn't want to come off, you can use a little pocket screwdriver if you want, but in most cases, you can pull it right off. Now you're going to see a little spring on the inside there. Set that aside. Now on the top, you have the rubber boot. Usually these will slide right off. Worst case, grab a little razor blade and you can slit it. And peel that off. Good, take the replacement component. Now you want to notice that there's a rib on the top that this needs to pop onto. I'm going to place that right there, and I'm going to put a tiny bit of silicone paste right around the top here to help this boot slide up and on. And it'll pop right on. You're going to feel it engage. Go ahead and take your new boot here. Make sure that the spring is installed right here. Line that up and just press that on. And before popping this onto the vehicle, go ahead and take a little bit of silicone paste and just put a tiny bit around the boot itself and just a little dab on the inside. Let's go ahead and install our ignition coil. Now just snugging those gently. It's going to be just fine. Press it on and engage your lock. Let's now go ahead and remove our rags from our lower intake. Make sure that that lower intake surface is clean. We already previously cleaned that up. Just give it a quick wipe. Now with your intake flipped over, you want to go ahead and focus on the gasket itself. Now the gasket itself is here in blue, and these are reusable for several times of removing and installing the intake. Now what you're looking for is you want to make sure that the gasket, if you run your finger over it, is higher than the plastic itself of the intake. You also want to go ahead and focus on cleaning this. So you go ahead and grab that gasket and pop it out. You can simply pull this out, and you can clean out inside the grooves here using some spray solvent or whatever you have. Clean out the track there. Now if you have to replace the gasket, just remove it, grab the new gasket and install this. But this is critical to the operation. You don't want to end up with an intake vacuum leak. Just simply line that up and press it in. This will secure itself in place. You don't have to use any RTV. Once you're satisfied with the surface being clean in your gasket condition, we can now flip this over and set it in place on top of the engine. Now I want to go ahead and position this. We're going to tuck in the back. Now when you're lowering this down in position, you want to pay attention to the connectors and the hoses all the way around the perimeter. Take a peek underneath, make sure your gasket is still in place. Then at this point here, you can start threading in the bolts. Now at this point here, you probably already figured out that if you had flipped over that intake, all of these bolts here are capture bolts, so they pretty much stay in place, except for this one here. This is the one that goes in the top center. That's a free floating, and you probably heard that or were able to pull that out earlier. So just pay attention to that. Make sure you start all these by hand. Don't use power tools to get them started. You don't want to cross thread anything. But once you are sure that they're all started, you can go ahead and grab your tool, whatever you want to, and we're going to run these down, but do not tighten them. You just want to bottom them out gently. There is a torque procedure for this here. If you over tighten it, you can crack the intake or cause some other damage. Once you have those secure, go ahead and grab that intake, give it a little wiggle. Our intake is secured and it's level all the way around. If you snug those down and you can still wiggle that intake, well, that tells you that something got stuck underneath. Maybe the gasket fell out, maybe a connector got stuck or a piece of the wiring harness is underneath. Go ahead and loosen them up, figure out what the problem is, and then go ahead and re-secure everything appropriately. Our next step is to go ahead and torque these bolts here. There is a torque procedure as well as a specific torque spec, which is 89 inch-pounds or 7.4 foot-pounds for each of these bolts. Now you're gonna go ahead and follow the pattern that we have shown up here on the screen. Let's go ahead and do all 7 of these bolts. Now, if you installed a new gasket, it's best if you go around and just double check everything one more time, make sure that your gasket is properly crushed and everything is maintaining its torque spec. With the intake installed, let's go ahead now and install all of our components here. I'm gonna start on the back side, install the electrical harness. You're gonna hear and feel that connect, and then install the little plastic button retainer. Following along the front here, we have our rubber hose. Simply gonna press it down into the track there. After we've got our rubber hose clipped in here, let's go ahead and install the connector here right on the side of our throttle body. Now installing this here, don't forget when you press it in and you feel it lock on, press that red lock tab in to secure it. Install the vacuum hose. You're gonna feel that just pretty much bottom out and push the green lock tab in. Secure that into plastic retainers here. And then back over to the throttle body area. Install the electrical connector on the top here. You can hear and feel it engage. Install this vacuum hose on the top here. Now on the back side of the intake, don't forget to install this vacuum hose here. Now when we pull this apart, we had removed the clamp. So you need to go ahead and grab that and slide that over the hose. Let's go ahead and work the plastic hose into the rubber hose and push that in. And then go ahead and grab your pliers, whatever you're going to be using here. And we just need to get that into position to lock that on. Okay, we have that secured. Now the last part of securing our upper intake is this one bolt that goes around underneath our throttle body to that bracket. Reach back there, get that started. I'm going to thread that in as far as I can by hand. I'm going to use my stubby ratchet here with my socket and just reach back there and just snug it down. Okay, snug that down. You do want to make sure that it's pretty tight. You don't want that to vibrate loose. So make sure that's good and tight. Now installing your upper intake box here, make sure that these 3 tabs interlock into the side portion of our air filter base. Go ahead and push that in. Now we can lower this down, work this down, and get the intake tube onto the throttle body. Once that's in place here, we want to go ahead and secure our air filter intake box right here. We have the 2 clips on the side. You're just going to lift those up and snap them up into place. And then on the side over here, we have this vacuum port. So we're going to line that up and want to slide this on. And you're going to hear this little plastic lock tab engage. There it is. Now up on the top portion here by the throttle body, we have this rubber hose right here that just needs to press onto this port. There's no clamp there. And then let's go ahead and secure the hose clamp itself. Now when it comes to this here, you want to make sure that it's snug. You don't want to over tighten it where you strip the clamp itself. Make sure it's good and snug. Give that a little wiggle, make sure that it's secure. Grab that ground terminal, slide that over. Make sure that's twisted all the way down. Go ahead and snug this down. Now I'm using a hand ratchet. You don't want to over tighten these here. Using power tools is going to be easier to do that. So snug that down and then give that a twist. Make sure that it's good and secure. At that point there, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.